Welcome to Demolition Success Secrets, the podcast that's changing the game for demolition businesses everywhere. Ever wondered how a wrecking ball wielding industry can leverage digital marketing to dominate their market? Well, we've got the blueprints, strategies, expert guests, and more to show you how. Stay tuned, because we're about to blast through the barriers of your business.
I have Dean with us today. We are graced and blessed and lucky to kind of learn about his experience in the demolition business, and we worked together for quite some time, but really want to hear his thoughts about how the community is changing, the business is changing. And yeah, Dean, kick us off. How did you get in the business? Is this something that you did straight out of school? Is this something that you went to school for? How did you get here?
No, I started off in the concrete recycling business, like being a laborer, picking rebar and stuff off a belt in downtown Atlanta. Then I started running heavy equipment. I started running like an excavator and a front end loader, and I got pretty good at that stuff. And then I went to work for a equipment sales company. So I started selling heavy equipment, which my dad is in the business, so he kind of helped me out and get me my foot in the door. So that kind of went south. And then I had a couple friends that were in the demolition business, and I went to work with them. And that's how it started. I started off just running equipment. Then I got into a more of an office environment where I was quoting jobs, estimating, doing, finding dump sites for the demolition company, just getting prices from vendors and that kind of stuff. And then, but the only thing with that was the first company I worked for, they weren't giving me the opportunity to put numbers on projects. They were just, I would do all the legwork, find the jobs, and then they would come in and just have a closed door meeting and put me in the closet and not involve me in the pricing and stuff. So, but the last two companies I've been with, I've been more involved in the pricing aspect of the demolition business and the business development. So going out, finding work, following up with people that I've quoted, all that good stuff. So, and that's pretty much how I got into it.
Okay, awesome. And now you're a billionaire, right?
Yes, of course. Yes. All in 1 year.
No, working towards it. Yeah. You clicked on one of those ads that said become a billionaire by joining the demolition business.
Right.
So you know your stuff in the business. You are pretty high ranking in the business. You're not the owner, but you really, really are pretty high up there. You put your eyes on the numbers, you make the numbers. Tell me kind of what it looks like when you guys get a call, how that comes in. And first off, let me ask you this before we even get to that. How do you guys normally get the calls in the business? How do you normally get leads or opportunities?
Well, typically, the owner of my company has a lot of connections in the city of Atlanta, and a lot of our business comes from that. He's got he's got a couple big general contractors. He's got some county work that he does. So really the demolition business side of his business is kind of new. It's only a couple years old. But he had a remediation company, and he was doing mold remediation. He was doing a lot of insurance work. And then he started subbing out of a lot of the demolition work. And then he was like, well, I really need to get in here and start my own demolition company. So me and two other guys came about 2 years ago and started working for the guy I'm working for now. And, with our contacts and his contacts, we put it together and, started doing it, and in 2 years, I think this year we're going to be at about $10 million this year in business after 2 years.
Nice.
That's pretty solid,
For 2 years. Yeah. Most businesses, they go out of business in 2 years.
Well,
they don't get
no
$10 million. So that's cool. And in traditional sense, in your past and things, are most of the companies typically just getting it through connections? Is it primarily referrals? Is it some sort of bidding websites?
Well, there is a lot of sites that you can go to. You can go on Planet Bids. You've got 20 different sites that you pay so much for a month to get the leads. But that's a lot of public work. We don't really bid a lot of public work. We do a lot of private stuff where we're bidding to a GC. The public work is just kind of, you're out there bidding against every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and it's all that matters is your price is low, That's the
Okay.
only
And
thing.
you've been around for a few years and stuff.
Right.
Like you got to have some
And
credibility, but
sure, but I mean, in the business, I mean, the longer you're in it, the more contacts you're going to have. So obviously, if you're going to find somebody you're going to have as an estimator, you want them to have their own backlog of customers that they're going to get work from.
okay.
So,
Gotcha.
with your system, Chayton, you don't really need that. You're pretty much, I mean, I still have customers from the past, but pretty much what I'm doing is just, I hate to say it, but I'm waiting for my phone to ring. And there's really nothing wrong with that. Because once the phone
Right.
starts ringing, there's a lot of extra work to do. You've got to bid it. You've got to follow up with customers. There's a lot of work to be done.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You got to go out to the sites and
Right. You got to look at the jobs.
you got to, it's a dabble of like being competitive with your bids while also not shooting yourself in the foot. It's a little bit tricky there. Okay. So most traditional companies that you've worked for that out in the space, they're doing it through referrals, word of mouth, connections. Do you think most of them are kind of like in that wheelhouse where the public work, they kind of just let other people handle that? It's just too competitive, the public stuff.
Well, I think your major demolition companies go after most of the public work. You've got a couple in Atlanta that really don't do any public work. They just work private. The only bad thing about private is you're working for GCs is, typically they don't pay real quick, so you're waiting a little bit for your money. And, it's kind of a hassle. But it is what it is.
So like net 30, net 60, net 90, stuff like that.
Yeah, it can get ugly. So, but you're going to get paid. It's just a matter of time. So,
kind of working like with the government.
Right, exactly.
The government's going to pay more than likely as long as things don't freeze up. Okay, awesome. So is that kind of like where the buck stops with a lot of companies in demo? Is that they have referrals, maybe they're picking up public work, maybe they're more focused on private, but they don't have a bunch of flow per se, and they can have kind of the ups and downs with their money coming in. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, in the demolition business, I mean, it is ebbs and flows. I mean, there's no question about it. You're going to have times where you're so busy you can't handle the work you have, and then a month later you're going to have nothing, and now you're just getting jobs to keep guys busy, which you don't want to do in the demolition business. I mean, you want to get jobs to make money, not keep people busy. Yeah,
you want to cherry pick. You want to have so much. I'll take these.
You hear it all the time. Well, I could definitely, get this job to keep a few guys busy. That's not what we're going to do. We don't want to keep guys busy. We want to make money.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. And would you say, just from the experience, obviously this podcast is not about us, it's about our guests, but from what you've seen with us, we do kind of help with the ebbs and flows from the calls, from the emails, that kind of thing. It can be less of the business going like this, and it could be more even with some of those private jobs like houses and stuff.
No doubt about it, man. I mean, with our relationship and how it works, not only is it evening out the ebbs and flows, but you're also turning over cash a little bit quicker, because a lot of these jobs that we get, we're going ahead and billing them 100% upon completion of the job. We don't get 50% up front, or, we get 100% upon completion of the job. So, unless we're working for a GC, which, we've got a couple instances like that right now. But if you're working for somebody who has a house burned down or an apartment burned down, you're not waiting for a lot of time to get your money. And it's very quick,
How does that work, Dean, with the insurances? Is 20% of your work insurance backed, where essentially insurance companies paying you guys?
Insurance company pays a lot of it, but we're working for companies that are working for the insurance companies. So what happens, let's say an apartment complex burns down. And if it's a large apartment complex, they're going to have a renovation company on call that they're going to get out there, and they're going to say, hey, send your people to this address. And then what happens is, with your system, we're going to get a call. Like, there was a big fire in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, well, I could go out there. I could research the apartment. I could go hang out at the apartment complex. I could go talk to people. But just so happens, my phone rings. And it's from a guy at the apartment complex wanting me to come down and give him a price for the job. And it's a huge job,
Oh, yeah.
And I think what they do is they look at the websites, whatever, your city is, and Demolition, and we're in the top. We're like the top guy every time. So then I think on the insurance things, I think what they do is they go out there and they call three companies.
Yeah.
And that's really all they need to do. So if we're always getting that one call, we always have our foot in the door, and we got skin in the game.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it makes sense. You guys definitely are a contender, right? Compared to, like, I remember we've worked with you guys in a capacity, other companies, and in the past where they're like, we've never even seen deals like this. Like, we're not used to getting 100 calls a month. Yeah, some are not fantastic calls. Some of them are people needing a work or needing a job or something of that nature. But that was what kind of blew my mind when we initially got into Demolition, is that, the people, yourself, first off, you became a believer. I'm sure when we first met, you're like, this guy's going to send the work off to India or something,
Right.
give us a bunch of junk, which is valid. But you've kind of become a believer behind closed doors with anything that you're able to say. What have your past managers or owners thought, kind of before we started working together, where you said, hey, Chayton and his team are pretty good, you got to trust me? What were their reactions or mindsets before and after they experienced what we do?
Well, the last company I was with, when I brought the system to them, saying, if you hire me, I will bring the system to you, they were very skeptical. They didn't believe in it. But then when I left, they did not want to have your system leave them. They were very it was going to work. They saw how it would work. It was just, it's a given, I mean, it's, the only thing, you're going to get a lot of calls, and you have to weed out calls. Is it somebody calling to tear down a mailbox? I've had that call before. Is it somebody looking?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And what I did is I gave him one of my good friends who's another demolition contractor. I said, hey, call this guy at this company. Here's his cell number. He's the best mailbox demolition company in Atlanta. So,
He specializes in mailbox teardowns.
Yeah. But you're going to get your BS calls. But you just got to weed them out, and you can't miss calls. I mean, if you miss a call, you never know. That one call you miss could be a $200,000 project, 10 minutes from down the street from your office. So, I mean, I'm consistent about calling these people back and trying to just, cherry pick. Right now we're not really doing a whole lot of houses. We're not tearing down somebody's shed in the backyard.
Right. You guys want bigger stuff.
Bigger stuff. But what would be good, let's say your company doesn't want, the house demolition, some burn down house or whatever. If you could have a subcontractor that works for you that would love to do that stuff, and you could just, sub it to them and still make a little margin off the top, and you're still making a call and you're still getting a job. I mean, I probably turn down 3 or 4 houses a month.
Okay.
And that's that could be $100,000 right there a month.
Yeah.
It could easily be that. I don't like turning work down, but I'm starting to get better at realizing what are good jobs and what are not.
Right.
I mean,
well, that's the beauty. You have so many opportunities you get to pick. It's like you're in high school, having one person ask the problem versus having 10 people. You feel a little bit different about that kind of perspective. And I guess now with you guys, you have a lot of people to ask the problem. It may be like 100 that you have in mind, and you only whittle that down to 30, and then you further whittle that down to 10, and then they say out of the 10, 3 of them say, yeah, we like your estimate, let's go forward.
Right.
That's got to feel good. I mean, I imagine ownership, management, and even for you, instead of being kind of uncertain and feeling awkward or a little bit off when you guys have those lulls, you guys at least have some action going on, and everyone at your companies is like, hey, at least we're doing something, and we're able to be choosy. So that's good. I like that. Tell me the implosion versus wrecking ball for people in the business. They may have a different mix of what they offer. Like you were just saying, you guys are more interested in full teardowns of larger properties. how much of the time are you guys using explosives versus wrecking balls? Is
Well,
there some sort of
I mean,
breakdown?
I've never been involved in an implosion. The Rich's building. I mean, I've seen them when I was working for other companies like the concrete recycling company. Um,
Hmm.
I've never really done an implosion. And wrecking balls, I mean, that's old school. Nobody's really using
Okay.
wrecking balls anymore. So, I mean, they're out there, but, they're not using them. So, they're using just long reach excavator, or they're using excavators with buckets and just knocking stuff down. I mean, I think, when you're starting to do like smaller jobs, houses and, I think the best thing to have is an excavator, about a 20,000 pound excavator with a thumb and rubber tracks. So you're not messing up
Mm.
the driveway, you're not messing up the foundation of a house. You can still
Hmm.
maintain a good concrete slab. Um, that to me is one of the best pieces of equipment out there on smaller stuff.
Right.
We've got high reaches. I did a 5-story dorm in LaGrange this summer where we had to have a high reach. And that thing worked, for 2 months straight every day, you know. So, but the thing I think that probably the most important thing is when I talk to my other demolition buddies that are in the
Hmm.
business, and we talk, and I tell them about a job that I got a call on. Dude, they never have skin in the game, and they're the biggest demolition
Mm.
company in Atlanta. They're like, where do you
Crazy.
get these calls from? I mean, I know right now. I'm literally. I have 3 jobs right now I've bid, and one of the biggest
Mm.
demolition companies in Atlanta I have never heard of. I mean,
Crazy.
that's the way it is. You know,
Mm. Just not on their radar.
it's not on the
Yeah,
radar.
that's fascinating. Well, and that's what we love too is, we don't have to have the behemoth client to be able to get them the results. Matter of fact, the ones who probably appreciate what we do even more is established. They have a few employees, they've been around for a few years, their revenue is pretty strong, but they're wondering, hey, how can we do 5 million a year in revenue and make it 15? Well, you're going to have to clearly do some things differently.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to have to spend, a few $1,000s a month so you can make, in certain instances, a few $100,000 a month more in revenue. You can't spend $100 and expect that you're going to make 100,000. But with what we're doing, I think you've seen this. You could spend a few $1,000s. I'm talking less than 10,000, in certain cases, less than 7,000, and things of that nature, in certain cases even less than 5,000, and you might get one job that pays you 50 grand. You might get 5 jobs that pay you 50 grand or 20 grand or something of that nature, and then you might occasionally get something that's going to pay you 500,000, a million.
A
And
million.
what would you say, yeah, are those coming through, what, a few times a month, maybe
Oh,
3 times a
well,
month, 2 times a month?
I've got all right. The recent jobs I bid, we've got a couple of them. I bid $1 million warehouse job in Lithia Springs, Georgia, which we have
Hmm.
the contract on it for. We're doing it right now. I've got,
Amazing.
I got a 22-story building in downtown Atlanta. That was a $3.2 million job. I just bid a job in Tucker. I think it's 380,000. I mean, it's just the list goes on and on. I'm looking at a paint plant in Tucker that's
Mm.
$750,000. I
Whew.
bid on a job in Dunwoody for $3 million, 2 buildings,
Crazy.
and it's just all because of the calls I get from you.
That's amazing. Now, I'm curious. So, like, we talk about those numbers. Does that include the recycling revenue, or is
Well,
that
no,
just to?
that's
So,
that doesn't include the recycling. So,
yeah, how does that work? I would love to know kind of that behind the scenes.
well, I mean, a lot of people use 50 cents a square foot if you're doing a commercial building. So if you're doing 100,000 square foot building, you're going to get 50 grand in scrap.
Okay.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, nowadays people don't ask for scrap deductions. They don't want a piece of the scrap because they know the price
Hmm.
is going to be higher. So they pretty much just want your bottom line to tear the building down,
Interesting.
remove it. They don't really care. I mean, some people do care about the scrap, but not everybody. But as a demolition contractor, that's your bread and butter.
Okay.
You
That's
know,
a lot of the margin.
yeah, it's a lot, and it's fixed into the price. And sometimes that might be the only profit you're going to make on a job is your scrap, which is still,
Okay.
it's good money, and you can turn that around very quickly.
What does that look like? You guys essentially, you're using the excavators, you're tearing stuff down. Are you removing things prior to the teardown? I gotta assume that's how that works.
Well, you can do it either way. You can go in and strip buildings and get all like the copper wire, your copper pipe. But a lot of times, the companies I work for don't do that. They'll just
Okay.
knock it down and they separate. But you're going to lose a lot of scrap,
Mm,
and you just knock it down. You separate your metals, your precious metals, and then you C&D goes in one pile and you haul that off. The rest of that will stay on
okay.
the job and you'll throw it in the scrap bucket, a scrap bin.
Okay. And then you go bring it to a recycling center or something of that nature that you probably already let them know in advance. You have
Yeah.
some stuff coming,
You probably
or
have
okay.
you have their dumpsters on site, and you throw it right there and tell
Mm,
them when it's full and say, I need 2 or 3 swaps today, bring it on.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's a hidden part of the business for people who aren't in the business. That was something I learned a few years ago that I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm seeing these contract values at 300,000 and a million. Of course, there's the 20,000s and 50,000s,
Right.
things like that. But there's this whole other flip side of it with the recycling that, again, people outside the industry, they have no idea. So it's like double money. And similar to how you said, some of that's pretty big margin, even if everything else you break even, which you don't want to do necessarily. But if you do, and you're sitting on 50 or 100 or 300,000 of scrap, that's crazy.
I mean, Chayton, there are jobs, I've seen a couple of them in Atlanta that are so big, the Ford plant or the GM plant, that demolition contractors have gone in there and they bought the job, which means they pay to do the demolition
Mm,
just for the scrap. So that's
wow.
you know, uh, that's very big jobs though. So I haven't gotten any of those. So.
Okay. That's wild. All right. Now, let me ask you, we already covered the wrecking balls. I'm curious, the implosions, is that just something you see in Vegas? Like what is the requirement to do an implosion relative to using excavators and things?
Well, the city that the building is in, it has to be allowed first. It's hard to get a
Okay.
permit for implosions, and it has to be a building that's so high
Hmm.
you can't use an excavator
Right.
to get to it. But you have to go in there and you have to strip out the whole entire building before you start rigging your implosions. I mean, it's kind of detailed. There's a lot of work to
Mm.
be done.
Okay. So would you say, I don't know, is that a 10-story building and taller would be where
Probably, I'd
implosions are
say 10,
considered?
10 story or higher. I mean, you can,
Okay.
well, if you, let's say you're doing an 8-story building, you can
Hmm.
you can start ramping up your excavator to get it to where you can reach up to, maybe the 8th or 9th floor, you know,
Okay.
just using the debris from the demolition that you've done. So,
Yeah, this is cool. It's got to be a lot of fun. How often are you actually doing the equipment yourself? That could be none of the time. That could be some of the time. Is it cool to get behind those big
yeah, oh yeah,
monsters
man.
and
I
start
mean, I
smacking
was
stuff?
I was running a concrete hammer today down at Lithia Springs. I got on it. I was beating some footings out. So, it's not something I want to do every day,
Yeah,
because I'm like 54 years old and it kind of hurts your body after a while. But I like
right.
I like to be able to just go out there and just relieve some stress and get on a machine, load trucks or do whatever. That's fun for me. But I don't want to be there too long. You know,
Yeah,
my thing is I need to be in the office. I need to be by my phone, answering calls, selling jobs. That's my focus and my purpose with this company that I'm working for.
yeah, totally get that. Okay. And then with the lead flow that you get, obviously it comes in emails, it comes in phone calls. Tell me about the like referrals and things. We've talked about GCs, right? We get you guys a call, we get you an email, and one thing leads to another. They could be working with you guys for years, right? You do good performance, you check in with them. So like one lead could actually become 3 leads
And
5 years
plus
down the road.
jobs easily. I've got a company right now. I've done like 4 or 5 jobs from here in Atlanta, and
Wow.
that was on one job that I got from Results Magnet. Then it turned into like 3 or 4. Because we did a good job, and that's I'm their demo guy now. So it's a great thing.
That's crazy. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes. This has been awesome. A lot of wisdom to the audience. What would you say for people in your role, if you ran the show, what would you want them to understand about your role? Like, how can owners of demolition companies support their team members like Dean? How can they keep you guys happy?
Well, they have to understand that with the money that they're doling out every month, it's like having another estimator on the staff. Okay. And but what they have to understand is you get one or two jobs every every month. You know, let's say it's 50, 60,000 and $75,000. I mean, that pays for itself threefold.
What could like owners of demolition companies do to give Dean like the respect you deserve, the empowerment you deserve? Like, how can these owners of demolition companies support Deans of the world to allow you guys to help the business to grow?
Well, I mean, I just need support as far as, let's say if I need a piece of equipment, you know, and I think that you should, you know, if we buy this piece of equipment, I can put it to work. I'll keep it busy, possibly buying that piece of equipment, maybe with some trucks, maybe a couple roll-off cans, a truck, you know, because that right there will help. You can use your roll-off to haul your equipment around in.
How about them supporting you in terms of like getting you incentivized? And I know you're incentivized, but I'm saying, you know, to the guys out there that aren't Dean, how can the employers help the guys that are in your role get more jobs, get more business done? Like, is it giving you guys bonuses? Is it giving you guys better software? How can they empower you guys to really kick ass at what you do?
Well, I mean, everything is, you know, needs to be incentives. You know, I mean, I like what I do. I get excited about what I do, and I get especially excited when I'm, you know, reimbursed for my hard work. And I mean, everybody needs to be excited, and they want it. They want to do it. You know, I mean, when my phone rings and it's Atlanta Demolition or whatever, you know, I get excited. I'm like, oh shit, here comes another call. You know, and I mean, that right there tells me that, you know, everything's good and it works.
Okay, so for a guy like you, to the owners of demo companies out there, is it bonuses? Is it commission? Is it just a high salary? Like, is there anything in terms of compensation that gets a guy like yourself,
well, I mean,
or someone similar to your role?
Yeah, well, commissions, bonuses, that all helps. I mean, I think with what I do for my company, I bring in a lot of money and a lot of work for these guys. You know, right now I'm the only
millions.
I'm the only guy in the office that brings in work. So not only that, but you have to realize that, you know, I'm responsible for keeping 15 or 20 guys busy all the time that they can go out and work every day. That's a lot of responsibility, and that brings some pressure, you know, but I know that's on me. And if I keep those guys busy and they're working, then I also need to be compensated for that as well.
Yeah. You do a lot of time on the road, a lot of gas, a lot of miles on your car.
Yeah.
I get that. I definitely get that. Okay, sweet. So is there something that you would say separates a quality demolition company to a non-quality demolition company in today's day and age?
Yeah, man.
You've seen them both.
Yeah.
You and I have been together.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Right now you're happy, and you've always been happy, you know, wherever you've been and however we worked. But you've seen, you know, multiple sides to demolition businesses.
Yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, man, a demolition company that will go out there and return phone calls, quote jobs when you say you're going to quote jobs, and do what you say you're going to do is pretty much the most important thing. You have no idea how many people I talked to that said, "Oh my God, you called me back. Oh, wow. It's unbelievable. A demolition company called me back," you know, and I'm amazed at how many companies are out there that even if you go online and you dial their phone number, they don't answer. They don't answer their damn phones.
Why do you think that is? Do they don't want the money? They're too busy. They haven't put the team in place.
I mean, I don't know.
I
mean, when this thing right here rings, you know, I know for a fact it's going to be, you know, it's something, you know, it might be a marketing call. It might be a couple guys looking for work, but 9 times out of 10, it'll be a solid opportunity, whether it's a house or a mailbox, a shed in the backyard, apartment complex. I mean, it's going to be something that you can yourself can say, I don't want to do that job, or boy, I want to run out here and I want to look at this job right now. I mean, it's much you're weeding them out, and
you can make money on all of them.
Yeah,
by subbing it out and getting a cut, like you mentioned earlier.
I've done jobs before for $5,500 when it's started, and we spent $1,500 in labor. So, what do we make? $4,000, in profit. I mean, that's not bad, but to a lot of people, that's not a lot of money. But it's turnover, and you got that money back that day. So that's $4,000 you have in your hand that day that you can hand to the owner.
That's crazy.
So it's just it is crazy. But at first I was taking every job just because I didn't want to say no. I hate saying no to people.
Especially when they got a lot of money they can give you. Even if the money, the job may not be the perfect lucrative thing, but it keeps everyone busy, like you mentioned, and you're making something, right? Maybe you get a repeat customer out of them, or you get a good review. As we know, reviews are so important.
Yeah, they're hard to get. Believe me.
Yeah.
Reviews are hard to get.
Why do you think that is? Because you guys do good work, and I see the reviews and stuff like that.
I have no idea.
It's weird. It's weird. We got protocols to get that better. Yeah, that's true. Okay. So last few questions. If you were to go back to yourself when you started off in the demo business, what are 3 things that you would tell yourself to help your managers, to help yourself, to help the owners of your companies make more money in this business, to do things easier? What are 3 things that you would tell Dean when he was first starting off in the demolition space?
I would say when you tell somebody you're going to do something, to make sure you do it. That's like the biggest thing. And I've learned lessons on this before. And that's probably the most important thing. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, like quote them or go look at a job, you need to go do it. And don't make excuses. Just get out there and do it. I mean, that's the thing. Your phone will be ringing. You need to answer. You need to respond to people. And that's just what it is. You're not going to make money in this business by not answering the phone and not looking at jobs. You have to get out there and look at them.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one. Why do you think, while you're thinking of those other answers, why do you think the demolition business attracts so many shady characters? Out of curiosity, because we've seen, a lot of great people, lots of them, and any business has good and bad kind of actors or owners, so to speak. But is there a reason why you've seen, many of times some of these owners are not doing maybe the best by their team or their vendors or their customers?
Chayton, I really don't know why that is, but I mean, the demolition can be a shady business, no doubt about it. I think it has a lot to do with the scrap that's involved. And it seems like everybody's trying to steal the scrap. Everybody's trying to steal a piece of copper, and it's just, it almost gets fanatic sometimes with these owners. Everybody thinks that everybody's out to steal their copper. And anywhere you go,
interesting.
I had a guy that the only time he would show up on the job site would be at the first few days when they were stripping copper wire. It's the only time just so he made sure it went in his truck and nobody else's. And it's
crazy.
It's funny, but it's a hard truth. Very hard truth.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's a unique business. I mean, construction in general, a lot of good people in it, but there's also, people say, hey, contractors in general, whether it's their home or it's something commercial, sometimes they say they got to keep an eye on it, but you've always run a tight ship, which is impressive. I mean, I've known you for years now.
No doubt.
A lot of these people, it's always something. And even we see it with the GCs, as we've heard before in past stories, where, holding payments or holding you guys hostage, or it's craziness. It's insane. So last little bit, is there anything that you would tell someone who knows of demolition marketing leads? Maybe they've seen a podcast, maybe they've seen our website or gotten some reach out. What would you tell them that would help them understand what they're going to get involved in?
Number one, I mean, it will make your phone ring. Whether you're in wherever you are, in Texas, Florida, it doesn't matter. You're going to be the number one SEO. You're going to have
Okay.
the most clicks. You're going to be the number one. And just right now, go in there and look at Google and type in whatever your city is, demolition, whatever, and see who your top 2 or 3 are. And just imagine how many more phone calls you will get if you're first or second in that system. I mean, it's just,
and you're living proof of it. You've
yeah.
done it even with smaller companies, old school companies, smaller companies, newer companies. You're going up against guys who've got a lot of reviews, who've done it for years, have all the referrals and stuff, and you're beating them.
Yeah.
First off, you're getting the call they don't even see.
Right.
And second off, you're getting the business. It's not even something, sometimes not all jobs are going to be winning bids, but you guys aren't just getting messed with for, let's see the bid and let's go give it to someone else. You guys are winning these deals and you're beating out the big dogs.
Yes, we are. And now I'm to a point now where I'm starting to sub some of the work out to the big boys, and then I have relationships with them. So I'm like, hey, you want to bid a job for me? And then they're like, well, how did you get so much money for this job? I was like, well, that's my secret sauce, not yours, And that's what I always call it, is my secret sauce,
That is funny. So they don't even know. It's just, you have your own behind the scenes. That's funny. Yeah, they got to be jealous. They probably wish that they could have that before you guys had it. That is funny. Okay, awesome. That's really all I have for you. If there's any other wisdom you want to impart or things you have on your mind, if you could real quickly just say, maybe we'll edit some of the results magnet stuff. Could you just say demolition marketing leads? Demolition marketing leads. Awesome.
Okay, cool. So you put that, so no more results magnet? Yeah, no, we'll probably use some of that in the past, but because some of the stuff you're saying, we worked together years before, results magnet, that's all fine. Some of them we might kind of put in that demolition marketing lead stuff because that's the brand that we have kind of going into demolition only. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's just, sexier, easier for that space alone. And when they go to results magnet, they're going to see how many different businesses we work with. But demolition marketing leads, they'll go to it, be like, holy crap, these guys just focus on exactly what we do. So that's what I got for you. Obviously, you could have the stage if there's anything left you have to say. Obviously, you could say your name out loud. You could say how many years you've been in the business. I would be curious what you think of the future of demolition as an industry. Oh man, the demolition business is strong right now. It's a great business to be in. We do a lot of stuff with insurance companies, so apartment fires, house fires, get a lot of water damage, that kind of stuff, mold. It's out there. The business is out there. If you're willing to go out and spend a little bit of money on the system, it will it'll profit you in the long run. Would you say working with demolition marketing leads is a no-brainer? Is it something that people should jump on, or should they really kind of assess their situation? To me, you got to jump on it, because it's going to be offered to someone else. If you turn around and walk out, somebody else is going to be offered the system. Demolition marketing leads it's a proven system to me. Well, I can guarantee you my success would not have been anything without demolition marketing leads. Because I never had a big clientele of demolition customers. I never had that to offer to anybody in the demolition business. It was just always finding jobs through bid links, different services online. That's all I did. But when you guys came around and the phone started ringing, that's kind of when I started excelling in the demolition business. And it's a proven system. It's an awesome system. Yeah. Sweet. Love it. All right, cool. Do you have any last little bits? If not a problem. Is there anything else that comes to mind? No, I think we're good. Okay, sweet. All right, Dean.
That's a wrap for this episode of Demolition Success Secrets. Stay tuned and subscribe for more explosive insights from our upcoming episodes. Until then, continue to blow up your demolition business and make the competition rubble in your path.